Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all our 12 Monarchs out there in Monarch Nation, coming off a thrilling 30-27 overtime win versus Louisiana Tech. And I thought hard about the words to describe it, Ted, and one comes to mind: wow. That's the best word I can come up with. Wow. What a game. Probably the biggest win in the history of our short program, and we've had a few big ones around here, but this one was certainly the biggest win against the best team that we played. And this is 2 games in a row now that we've shown tremendous poise in the second half, and particularly in the fourth quarter and overtime of this game, going back a couple weeks ago against Florida International, how we won that game in the fourth quarter, and then to do what we did late in overtime of this game. The story of the game was our second half defense. In the second half and overtime, Louisiana Tech ran 21 plays for a total of 43 yards. And just the 3 points, the field goal in overtime. And this is against the number 3 offense statistically in Conference USA. We were down 24-14 at halftime. The message was clear. We were going to have to come out and play as close to perfect football as possible to have an opportunity to win this game. And I felt like the kids battled really hard in the second half and overtime. We outscored them 16-3. And this is the number 1 team in the West. They were 6-0 coming into this game. And if they had won the game, they would have sealed the West Division and the spot in the championship game against Marshall. And La Tech is a very good football team at 6-1 in the West. They'll play Rice for the Western Division title this weekend, and we've beaten both of those teams, which is very encouraging for our program to beat 2 quality programs like Rice and Louisiana Tech. And I think Skip Holtz has done a tremendous job at Louisiana Tech. This is a team that was 4-8 last year, and to have the turnaround they've had, just a tremendous job by Skip and his staff. That's a quality football team. Starting with our special teams, other than the 2 botched specialty kicks we tried early in the game, I thought we were very good. Satchel Ziffer made all 3 of his extra points. He made a 46-yard field goal, which after that 9-minute drive to start the third quarter, which really changed the momentum of the game, that was huge at that time. That made it a 1-score game. It cut it to 24-17. He narrowly missed on a 42-yarder later in the game, a kick that would have been good from 60. He just pulled it a little bit to the left. Our kickoff coverage was outstanding when we kicked the ball deep. This was the number 3 team, kickoff return team in Conference USA, had a very explosive returner, and our guys covered extremely well in this game, probably the best we've covered kicks all year. And then we had the 1 punt out of an offensive formation. Taylor hit a 48-yard punt. So overall, a solid performance. Defensively, it was like night and day from the first half to the second half in this game. In the first half, they ran 44 plays for 283 yards and the 24 points. And as I mentioned, in the second half, 21 plays, 43 yards, and the 3 points. And this reminded me of the last 13 minutes of the FIU game, where they ran 8 plays for 9 yards, and we had the big interception by Falante. We've just played lights out at the end of the last 2 football games, as good as we've ever played defensively, and that's encouraging because we're making a lot of progress on that side of the ball. We had 13 missed tackles in this game in the first half, and we only had 2 missed tackles in the second half and overtime. And I felt like this was as good of team defense as we've ever played. We had 10 guys on defense with at least 3 tackles in this game. We had the huge caused fumble early in the game, and then the big interception by Reggie Owens in the fourth quarter that got us some momentum back. So overall, just an outstanding performance in the second half and overtime by our defense. Offensively, this was a grind. It was a chess match the entire game against their blitz packages and what they were doing defensively. On the sideline in between every series, there were adjustments being made by our offensive coaches, trying to help Taylor to recognize the blitzes, how we were going to attack them in the run game, and then protectionally. And this is the second-ranked defense in Conference USA. They're outstanding. They lead the league by a wide margin in interceptions. They have 24 interceptions on the year. They're one of the top teams in the country taking the ball away. And I thought our guys competed very well. We had 395 yards and 30 points, and without the 4 interceptions and those 2 critical penalties at the end, this could have been a 550-yard and a 45-point performance by our offense. But they got to give a lot of credit to Louisiana Tech for the plays they made. Our offensive line was outstanding in this game. This was the most challenging game for them from a strategy standpoint, and then from a competition standpoint. Louisiana Tech is very good defensively. They're just a notch behind Marshall, and I think that shows how far we've come as a team, because we weren't competitive against Marshall, and we played much better schematically on offense. Josh Mann, Connor Mewborn, and Melvin Bond played all 77 plays in this game. Melvin played a lot of his snaps at tight end, which was the first time we played him that many snaps at tight end, and that really helped us with the edge and protection. There were times we kept him in to protect. He had to do a good job blocking on the edge, which he did in this game. Taylor was 29 for 40 for 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then the 4 interceptions. 2 of them were bad decisions that he made, and 2 of them were just outstanding plays by their defensive backs. David Washington stepped up and had his best game of the year, 8 catches for 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has just come on. He's gotten better and better and better every week as he learns the receiver position. He's playing at an all-conference level right now with the way he's playing for us. Antonio Vaughn, 9 catches, 92 yards, and then we got a huge lift off the bench from Cam Boyd with his 11 carries for 50 yards and the touchdown. We had a couple injuries in the game. Ray Lowry got dinged up, took a shot in the head, and we kept him out. He probably could have come back in, but we decided to hold him, and Gerard Johnson sprained his ankle, and that made Cam Boyd the feature back, and he stepped up in a big way on senior day for us. Speaking to this week's opponent, Florida Atlantic, they're 3-8 overall, 2-5 in the league. This is a team that it's night and day how they play at home and on the road. They're 3-1 at home and 0-7 on the road. They've had some impressive home wins. Their only loss is a 31-28 loss to a very good UAB team that almost beat Marshall this week. They lost to Marshall 23-18. They've had some quality wins. They beat Western Kentucky at home in a game they trailed 31-14 at halftime. They came back and won 45-38, and that's the same Western Kentucky team that beat us. So they certainly have our attention, and they're coming off a heartbreaking loss at Middle Tennessee, a team that we lost to early in the year, 41-28. They lost 35-34 in a game they led by 13 points with 5 minutes to go. Offensively, they're averaging 26 points and 410 yards. Good balance between the run and pass, and very impressive to me is they've only turned the ball over 13 times in 11 games. Their leading receiver, Lucky Whitehead, is one of the best players in the league, one of the most dynamic. They'll throw it to him. They ran a jet sweep to him the first play of the Middle Tennessee game, and he went 80 yards with it. He accounts for about a third of their total yardage. Defensively, in the league games, they're giving up 35 points, 420 yards, and it's a balance between run and pass. Teams that have been able to protect the quarterback have had success moving the ball. This will be a major challenge for our team. As I mentioned, they're 3-1 at home. It'll be their senior day, so it'll be an emotional day for them, like this past Saturday was for our team. And as I said to our players, this game's a playoff game for us. We need to win this game to have any possibility of postseason. With a win, this would get us to 6-6 and 4-4 in the league, and then we wait and see what happens with other teams that are fighting for bowl eligibility. So it's a major challenge. We'll have to play well in all 3 phases, but a game that our team is already excited for. And I'll take questions.
Coach, did you get a chance to soak in any of the atmosphere in that second half at home?
I did. It was remarkable. The performance. I wrote a letter this morning, a thank you letter to the fans, because that was just incredible. The energy we got from the crowd, particularly Ted, when it got later in the game in the fourth quarter. And I know they used at least 2 timeouts because of crowd noise. We got a couple delay of games on them. Their quarterback was having a really hard time checking protections. That late pressure we got where TJ Ricks in overtime on the 3rd and 3 came through clean. It was clearly a miscommunication up front. The left guard didn't hear the check of the protection, and he fanned to the left and it opened it up, and that forced the quarterback to throw it out of bounds. So that's one example of many in the game where the crowd was just phenomenal, and to have our 41st consecutive sellout to win a game like that, can't say thank you enough to all those very special people.
Coach, after the FIU game, you said maybe that your players didn't enjoy it as much as they could, as opposed to just being a relief. Did they enjoy this one?
Oh boy, did they ever! I wish I could have gotten that pile down in the end zone. I almost forgot I needed to go over and shake Skip Holt's hand. I wanted to head down there, but just the spontaneous reaction, and we've got it on video. Our outstanding video staff kept the video rolling, and to see the entire team, the players, the coaches, everybody get in that corner, and then the celebration in the locker room after, they definitely enjoyed this one.
You mentioned the win over Rice and this one obviously being big. Yeah. Could you talk about that a little bit more, just how big that is?
Yeah, what that does, number one, it gives our players tremendous confidence. When we went to Rice and won, they were the preseason number 1 in the league, the defending league champion. They had one of the longest home winning streaks in the nation, so we gained confidence from that. And I talked to the players a lot leading up to La Tech about that game, that we were clearly capable of beating the best teams in the league, and we had confidence going into this game, coming off of the FIU game, the way we won, and particularly defensively. I sensed our defense this week. They had a really good week of practice. There was more confidence there. We're still an up and down team defensively, but we've found a way to finish games, and getting this win now, beating the number 1 team in the West, a team that was undefeated, that shows everybody in our program, that shows all the kids that we're recruiting what we're capable of doing, and doing it in our first year in Conference USA. The fact we could end up 6-6 and 4-4 in the league would be a remarkable accomplishment for this team.
Time's running out on Taylor and his career here. Could you talk about what he has just meant to the program?
Yeah, he's a program changer. From what he's done, stepping in behind Thomas DeMarco, Thomas set the stage for the program with how we were able to win and how he played for us, and then Taylor came in and just took us to a whole nother level. When you think about the fact he was a true freshman in 2011, throws 25 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and leads us to the second round of the playoffs, and then he comes back his sophomore year, we're 11-2, he wins the Walter Payton Award. That put us on a national stage. We were a good story regionally, and people were learning we had football, but those back-to-back playoffs in 11 and 12, I think that was the biggest reason that Conference USA accepted us. We were winning, we were exciting, and he was the main reason behind it. And then both Taylor and then all the other seniors, how unselfish they've been the last 2 years. They're thinking going into 13 they're going to have a shot to compete for a national championship, and then I have to explain to them there won't be any postseason in 13. We're a transition team. There won't be a playoff. There won't be a bowl game. And then this year it's only a conditional opportunity. That shows a level of unselfishness by all the players, and Taylor certainly made a major difference.
Bobby, what did you guys do well and do better on defense in the second half the other day that you hadn't done even in the first half?
Well, the number one improvement from the first half to second half was the tackling. We had 13 missed tackles in the first half, only 2 in the second half. We were very aggressive getting to the football. And there was a confidence level there. They gained confidence. It certainly helped us, Dave, that first drive offensively in the second half, we go for 9 minutes. So their kids had been sitting basically for an hour between intermission, the start of the third quarter, and then to come out and get that stop. They only ran 4 plays in the entire third quarter. We had the ball for 13 and a half minutes. So I don't want to overstate it. They only had 21 plays total in the second half, but every time we needed a play on defense, they made it.
You have never been, you kind of downplayed the whole idea of time of possession given kind of the pace of your offense. Can you speak to what you decided to do and why coming out of halftime and then the third quarter?
Yeah, we felt like offensively in the first half, because of the turnovers, and the drives they had, we were starting to get worn down on defense. You know, they ran the 44 plays in the first half. That's a lot of plays. They were on pace to go up around 90 plays. And when Coach Scott and I were talking at halftime, we talked about coming out and taking the clock down, pulling it all the way down, and we needed it in this game anyway, because trying to identify their fronts and blitzes was a challenge. Taylor and Josh Mann were working overtime. We've never played a defense that did as much schematically as they did. So we were going to take the clock down anyway, but what we did was Brian just held the signals a little bit longer. So for example, we'd let the 40-second clock run down to about 20 before we'd give them the play. And then we knew Taylor needed about 20 seconds against this team to identify it. And we were just really fortunate that we kept converting on that first drive. You know, we got back-to-back sacks on that first drive of the third quarter, and that's what made that a 46-yard field goal. But the fact we were able to not only take the 9 minutes off, but get points, that would have been incredibly demoralizing to take that much time off the clock and not get anything. And that's why that field goal by Satchel Ziffer was so big. It cut it to 24-17. It gave us some momentum. And then I think the key stop of the game was when our defense came out, their first drive of the third quarter, and they went 4 plays, and then they had to punt. Then we got the ball back, and we held it for another 6 minutes. I think they had 4 plays up until about 13 minutes left in the game, because we had the 2 long drives, and they just had that one series, and that changed all the momentum. That changed the energy. It was a 1-score game, and really turned it around for us.
How much did the bye week have to do with this win?
I don't think it had, excuse me, I don't think it had much to do with it, because we were fairly healthy going into it. If anything, it gave us a little more time just to prepare for all the blitz that we were going to see. We were able to spend a little more time meeting with the players, but we were fairly healthy going into it.
Was the way you approached this defense and the way you said Louisiana Tech with their blitz packages and fronts and things like that, was this an outlier or unusual for you to do that, or will you think about doing that more often now?
It was different from the standpoint of it was like playing a different team. It was an entirely different strategy. That's why we played so many tight end sets with Melvin Vaughn. We felt like we needed an extra blocker for some of their blitzes, and you know, this week will be an entirely different approach. Florida Atlantic's different defensively, but we felt like we had to make these adjustments, Dave, to give Taylor a little bit more time with what he was doing, and we felt like we had to make that adjustment from a game management standpoint in the second half, with the fact they'd run 44 plays and our guys were getting tired, and that the best thing that could have happened was that 9-minute drive. I can't overstate that. We needed that 9-minute drive to keep us on the field and to keep them off, because I think if they score first in the second half before we do and make it a 3-score game, we probably don't have a shot to win.
Bobby, you played Melvin on a tight end. You've got a good tight end redshirting. You've got another one, at least one you're recruiting, depending on
Right.
where your son winds up. But, I mean, is that something we're going to probably see more of next year?
Yeah, most likely, Harry, and a lot of it will depend next year on the quarterback. You know, who the quarterback is. When Thomas DeMarco was the quarterback here, we were tight end offense. We were 11 personnel. You know, we played with a tight end with Kai Blanco and Matt Carrillo, because that was more of Thomas DeMarco's style. We were more running. We were running more with the quarterback. We were more of a run-oriented team. And then with Taylor and the dynamic wide receivers we've had, that's why we spread it out. Taylor's better when the field's wide open and he can see it all, and he can calculate what he wants to do. As I've said many times, he's got the authority to change the play whenever he wants. He can call what he wants at the line of scrimmage if he sees something. And next year, our initial thoughts will be to go back to more of a tight end oriented scheme. But again, that'll depend on the quarterback.
And this is not a coronation for quarterback. This is a competition, so you don't know who your starter is.
No, it's going to be a wide open situation. We've got to determine between Schuler and then what we want to do with David Washington and what David wants to do. He'll have input in that. He's earned the right to have input into that, and then what we do coming in. Who comes in at that position. But I've always felt philosophically, and the offensive staff's in agreement with me, that your system is based on who's at quarterback. I think if you force a system on a quarterback, it's a recipe for disaster. And if you can design it around the strengths of who you have under center, you're going to have a little more of an opportunity for success. So that'll be our approach going into the offseason.
Any other questions, Coach?
But why do you think this past weekend's win was more significant than the Rice win?
For a couple reasons. Number one, we're fighting for bowl eligibility. And the goal at the start of the year was to get to this last game and be in the conversation. You know, obviously I would have liked to have already been there, but to be in the conversation for a bowl game, to make this game as meaningful as it is now for us, going to Florida Atlantic, that has major significance. And then the fact that I think this is the best team we've ever beaten. The fact they were undefeated in the league, they beat Western Kentucky 59-10. We lost to Western Kentucky 66-51. They beat UTEP 55-3. We lost to UTEP 52-35. So when you looked at the common opponents, when you looked at their record, the fact they were undefeated in the league, and everything that was at stake for us to pull off this win, and then the way we did it, Dave, that says a lot to me about our kids, their character. You know, we've done it 2 weeks in a row, or 2 games in a row now, having to win late, trailing in the fourth quarter. You know, this is back-to-back games where we've had to make a fourth quarter comeback to win it. So that's why I feel like it's the biggest win we've ever had.
Anything else, Coach?
Hey, thank you all for coming. Thank you again, 12th Monarchs. Another outstanding performance, a 4-2 home record this year, 41 consecutive sellouts, and we hope to see you all in sunny Florida this Saturday.